Yes. And we're back. Woo. I don't know. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, what a weekend. What a weekend. What a week. I don't know. I don't know what's going on anymore. But we're back. Glad to be back. Glad to be back in my empty classroom. It's just great. Oh, goodness gracious. Anyway, obviously I only see 3 or 4 people kind of right here, right there, 3 or 4 people. But I'm going to ask that you begin leaving those wonderful comments in the chat. That'd be fantastic. There they are. There are those people leaving those comments. Make me so happy. Warm and fuzzy on the inside. That whole thing. Anywho, I have several things that I would like to accomplish today. And I'm just kind of giving people a moment to get into the live stream before I begin discussing those things. And hopefully I will give you a couple of reminders throughout the course of this class period. But you do have a project due for me soon. Several people have emailed me already in regards to who they want their quote from. I believe I have updated the, goodness gracious, why is this link not working? I have updated the spreadsheet that is accompanied with that project that you're working on for me. Or it's not really a project, it's more of a major, but still. But yeah, if you haven't done so, please make sure that you are emailing me so that we can get this thing moving. I'm just trying to get the right one open here. Yep, there it is. Okay, good. Okay. Sorry, I was trying to open something on the computer and the link was not working the way that I wanted it to. So, haha, there those people are. So let's see, when is your project due exactly? Your project is due, tomorrow. Excellent. Yes, it is due tomorrow at 2 p.m. So like I said, several people have already contacted me in regards to their quote, and I've updated the spreadsheet. Make sure that you do so. Hold on, there's an announcement.
Mr. Kirk, please report to B108. Mr. Kirk to B108.
Cool. As for today, what I would like to do is I'd like to continue with what we've been doing with transposition ciphers. I have a few twists and turns, no pun intended. Okay, pun intended along the way, but we'll get there. There's one specific transposition cipher that unfortunately is going to be a little bit tricky to set up for you guys because it actually involves like physical objects. And obviously, I'm here and you're there. So that particular type of transposition cipher I won't be able to do unless I figure out an alternative. Because again, like, how am I supposed to do that in the age of COVID with actual physical objects? You know, even if there were people in my class. Whatever. Anyway. So, in the meantime, ladies and gentlemen, if you do not already have them out, I'm going to need those notebooks out and open. As always, please leave a comment in the chat. I see that there are 9 of you there. Please make sure that you're leaving that comment so that I can see you there. That'd be fantastic. Haha, there we go. So, last class, we talked a bit about 2 types of transposition ciphers. We talked about the columnar transposition cipher, which I'm going to spend a little bit more time with today. And we talked about the rail fence cipher, transposition cipher, which both of them can be helpful, but you do need to know. I got an email. Yay. You do need to know what's being used. Now, obviously, if I gave you a cipher code and I said, hey, break this, you'd be like, well, which one is it? No, break it. Just try to break it. If you don't know what algorithm was used, you don't know where to start. That is typically what is done with a lot of code breakers. A lot of code breakers, they're just basically given a cipher, And they're like, break it. And they go through their, I don't even know what to call it exactly, their storehouse of ciphers. Like, okay, could it be a substitution cipher, a monoalphabetic, polyalphabetic? Could it be, a transposition cipher? Could it be, a rail fence? Could it be this? Could it be that? There are hundreds and hundreds of different types of algorithms that you could use to encipher something. Some are more popular than others. But we'll get there. Oh, we will get there. Let me flip my screen over. Ha ha. There we go. Bring my paper right here. Zoom it out, zoom it out. There we go. So today is the 16th. I hope to talk to you guys before the end of this class period about the Beal cipher. I've been meaning to tell you about the Beal cipher, but I'll save that for a little bit. Anyway, this is transposition continued. Okay. So I have a message, a plain text message that we have to encipher. And there are several ways that we can go about this. I want to take this message and I want to compare the different types of encipherments. Now, again, the idea of transposition is that each letter represents what it is. If the letter's an A, then it is an A. It's just in a different order. It's just been scrambled. It's been mixed up. Each letter has been transposed or moved from one position to another. So let me show you a plain text. Here's a plain text. We are discovered. Flee at once. That's my plain text. We are discovered. Flee at once. Now, there's a number of ways that we can go about doing this. We have to hide this message in a code. We have to use a transposition cipher, an algorithm and a key, in order to disguise this message, have it be sent to our colleagues somewhere else so that they know, hey, get the heck out of there. You're going to die. This is a matter of life and death. But if somebody intercepts this message, oh man, it's over. So we have to figure this out. So what do we use? Okay, so let's start with a rail fence. Rail fence I introduced to you last time. Now, rail fence, it does depend on the number of rails that you end up using. So let's actually compare. Let's compare enciphering this using a 2-rail versus a 3-rail. So let's start with the 2-rail. So let's start with a 2-rail cipher. If I'm going to create a 2-rail cipher, I may need a ton of room for this, but let's just see what happens here. Yeah, I'm going to do it like this. I'm going to make these boxes like not tiny, but like relatively small enough so I can put in the letters where they're supposed to go. Obviously, if I run out of room, I can just continue the rail below it. That's not a problem. But I'm trying to encipher right now. The algorithm is a rail fence, and the key is 2 rails. And let's just say the person that I'm sending this to knows that it's 2 rails. Or maybe they know it's 2 rails. Maybe they don't know it's 2 rails. Who knows? Let's just see. We are, and if you notice right there with the rail fence, I'm going back and forth on a diagonal with the 2 rails. And that's how the message is typically enciphered in the first place. We are, and it just keeps going back and forth like that. discovered. Let's see if I can fit this all in. That would be nice if I could. Flee at once. Sweet. It actually fit all the way on this thing. That was kind of nice. All right. So what's the cipher text that's being sent? The cipher text that's being sent, you just read each row, or each rail, I should say, in order left to right, and it enciphers what we got. So W, A, E, I, C, V, R, D, L, E, T, N, E, E, R, D, S, O, E, E, ran out of room, that's okay, F, E, A, O, C. Let me zoom in on that a little. There we go. That would be the cipher that would be sent. And probably I tried to keep it all in like one little line right there. But clearly at first glance, you're like, what the heck is this? This cipher message. Well, if you don't know the algorithm and the key, then you have no idea, obviously. But if you were someone who, let's say you didn't know what the key was, but maybe you had suspected that it could be a rail fence, it wouldn't take you that long to crack this code. Perhaps rail fence, with how popular it is to encipher that way, actually is to its detriment. The fact that it's such a popular thing to use kind of takes away from how secure it is. The whole idea of cryptology is security. How are you going to secure the message so that the only people who know it are the sender and the receiver? This is an arms race. If people recognize, like, oh, I know how to do the rail fence cipher, then, well, let's try a 2-rail, a 3-rail, a 4-rail, see if we can't get it. And it may take them like 15 minutes, but they might get it. And then you're screwed. Then what do you do next? The person that you're sending this to is dead. Way to go. But I wanted to compare a 2-rail against a 3-rail, just to see the difference in how the code looks and how more or less scrambled it looks. Now, what's interesting here, I just want to be very clear about something. The way that I wrote this out, and if you can see where I'm pointing, right here. When I got to this letter right here, this was the end of the first rail. And at that point, I could be like, okay, well, if I'm at the end of the first rail, I could just easily take the next rail and just start it down here under the W. Why would you do that? If you start it under the W, it makes it a lot easier for them to actually visually just shift the letters over. You got to be careful with how you write out your ciphertext. When we had those cryptograms, it was a lot easier to determine what each word could be with the spaces in there. But obviously, if you take the spaces out, that's a different story. Imagine a paragraph of a cipher, or of a cryptogram, with no spaces and no punctuation. That would be terrible. Let's try 3-rail. I want to compare the cipher for 2-rail versus the cipher for 3-rail. So let's do a 3-rail cipher. We're going to use the same plain text. We are discovered, flee at once. I may need to do the same small vertical lines in order to get this thing done. Obviously, it doesn't take that long to encipher or encode the message. Doesn't take that long. We are discovered that should do it. Flee at once. Kind of leave that there for a moment. So then again, I would read each letter in the order of rail by rail. I'd start at the top rail. And my cipher would be WECREAOCEAFEAEOC I'll leave that up there for a moment while people are kind of copying that. Now, obviously, depending on the length of your message, I picked a short message for today, but depending on the length of your message, it might be very time consuming to encode this message. But obviously, if you have pertinent information, if you have information that could be life-saving, that you need it to be secure, then you need to take the time to encipher this. Having secure messages sent has been one of the issues of, let's say, mankind since almost the beginning. Being able to send a secure message, being able to talk privately at a distance from each other and not have anybody intercept and know what you're trying to say, that is important. Now, that goes all the way back to the beginning of the internet itself. I want you to think a little bit of a thought experiment here. A little bit of a thought experiment while, if you haven't finished copying this down, make sure that you do, obviously, or they've, confirm that you get the same answer that I do. But a little bit of a thought experiment. I want you to imagine two people named Alice and Bob. Alice and Bob. Alice and Bob are actually very famous in the cryptology community. They're made-up people, but let's just think of Alice and Bob. Alice and Bob want to communicate securely. They want to send messages and letters to each other, and they want no one else to know what the message is. All the while, there is a third person named Eve. And Eve wants to eavesdrop and intercept their message and know what they're saying. Assume that if Alice sends a message to Bob, assume that Eve is going to intercept the message no matter what. Assume that she is. Assume that she gets it. But she cannot decrypt it without the key. She cannot decrypt it without the key. The thought experiment is basically like, imagine Alice writes a letter and puts it inside of an iron box and puts a padlock on it and sends this box off to Bob. Now, this box is basically the cipher, and without the key, you can't open the box. And if you can't open the box, you can't read the message. Eve gets the box, but she's like, well, I can't do anything with this. I can't open it. It's a steel box. I don't have the tools to get into it. I don't have the key. The box gets to Bob. And now Bob has to already know what the key is. Bob has to already beforehand know what the key is. So in theory, Alice and Bob have to have had a meeting in which they agreed upon a method of enciphering and a key. They have to have had a face-to-face meeting in order to do that. Now, you're going to find out in the coming weeks and months about how a face-to-face meeting is now not necessary because of the advancements in cryptology. Well, we'll get into that. There has to be an exchange of keys. There has to be some kind of common understanding. Yes, Alice and Bob know that they used this algorithm, and they know it was this key in order to decrypt, so they can communicate with each other. But like I said, if one of those pieces of information is known, if I know it's the rail fence, I could crack it. If I knew it was the rail fence and I didn't have the key, I could probably crack this thing. Take me some time, but I'd crack it. Let's compare the 2-rail to the 3-rail. So bring this thing down. There we go. Make sure it's not covered. Move this a little bit. There we go. A little better. Okay. So right here, you have the 2-rail ciphertext, and down here you have the 3-rail ciphertext. Clearly not the same. They look somewhat similar because obviously they share a lot of letters with each other. I mean, they share all the letters with each other. The more rails that you do, perhaps the more secure that you are. It really depends on the situation. Obviously, you can't have like a 50-rail thing. That wouldn't be, feasible. You have to have something that's feasible. You have to have something that is doable by hand. We are discovered flee at once. Love it so much. Let me show you a slightly different one. One that you haven't seen yet, but one that we are going to use. We are going to use a different type of transposition. Let's call this the route cipher. Now we're going to use the same phrase. We are going to use the same plain text. I want to compare it against the other two. But this is going to be the route cipher. Now, the way that the route cipher works is that you are going to create a grid, some kind of sized grid, an agreed upon grid. It doesn't have to be a square grid, but it has to be an agreed upon size. That's going to be part of the key. And an agreed upon starting location. Now, what I mean by that is this. Here's the plain text. Once again, we are discovered, flee at once. Now, how many letters is that? Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. 25 letters. Now, I did not intend on that being a perfect square. That is honestly just a coincidence because I picked this phrase based on a different example that I do later on. But that's kind of cool that it has exactly that many letters because now we can make a perfect square. The idea of the grid that you make is you want this grid to be something of a rectangle. A square would be nice, but a rectangle's good. So if this were 24 letters, I think we'd still be okay. With 24 letters, you could create it using a 4x6 or a 6x4, or you could make it a 5x5 again if you wanted to, but which I am going to do a 5x5 for this. But even if there were 24 letters, you just pick a random letter to fill in the 25th spot. That's typically what you would do, a placeholder. Placeholder is going to be a big deal today. So I'm going to create, and I want you to do the same, a 5x5 grid. Excuse me. Now, there has to be an agreed upon algorithm and key. The algorithm is the root cipher. But what is the key? The key for getting this thing done, would have to be a direction and a starting location. An agreed upon direction and a starting location. And then we would have the ability to encipher this. Now, what do I mean by a direction and starting location? Again, the key being that, Alice and Bob, if Alice is going to encipher this and send it to Bob, there has to be agreed upon starting location, meaning, again, I don't know, right there. And then if that's the agreed upon starting location, then perhaps I would have to have a direction. Now, the direction could be anything. I mean, with the direction, you could be like, okay, I'm going to write it like this and do like little swirls like this, or I can, go in the rows and do the swirls like that, or I could just do concentric circles. I could do a spiral. There has to be an agreed upon key. Now, the route can't be like too confusing. The route can't be like, okay, it was like here to here to here to here to here to here. It has to be simple enough for Bob to be able to decipher. The route cipher is one of the more basic ways of enciphering things. But again, unless somebody knows the algorithm and the key to crack it, they may look at the ciphertext and be like, what the heck? So I'm going to start here, and I am going to encipher going counterclockwise. Let's start by going counterclockwise. And let's see what we get here. So I'm going to take my phrase, we are discovered. Oh, I just put we discovered. Let me try that again. I literally just put we discovered. That was ridiculous. Why would I do such a thing? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. That was kind of ridiculous. Let me try that again. We are discovered. And if you notice, again, the direction that I'm going, I'm spiraling. We are discovered. Flee at once. And I'll kind of come up to the board and show you exactly what I did here. But again, the algorithm is the route cipher. The key that Bob would have to know that Alice did was she started in the bottom right corner and she spiraled counterclockwise. We are discovered. Flee at once. Now, this is part of the encipherment. I still need to create the cipher code, or the ciphertext, I should say. The ciphertext is literally you just write it like this. You could write it in rows. I mean, if you wanted to get even more creative, I guess you could do columns. But let's just keep it very simple. That Bob would be like, oh, okay, I just got 25 letters, 5x5 grid. I write it out like this, and then I'm supposed to start in the bottom right corner and spiral counterclockwise. Yeah, I got it. It's best as if you don't go clockwise for the most part, because if you go clockwise, there may be like a much more obvious like word up on the top, like right at the beginning. You can see the word side, but side doesn't give it away just yet. Again, you're trying to hide your message. You're trying to encode your message so that no one has the ability to read it. So what is the ciphertext that we get here? The ciphertext that we get is CSIDEOTAER. I'm literally going row by row, left to right. VOEEAERED. DFW. And I'll compare that. To the other rail fence ones that we did today. But again, the idea is to hide the fact that you are sending this message. We are discovered, flee at once. This looks nothing like that whatsoever. That's the whole idea. But Bob, knowing what the algorithm and what the key is able to throw this into a 5x5 box, know that the W starts in the bottom right, and then basically decrypt going in that counterclockwise spiral. Good job, Bob. Now, again, the route cipher is one of the more straightforward things. The key is a little bit clunky because the key is like you have to remember a starting location and you have to remember direction. The direction doesn't have to be a spiral. That's just probably one of the more common things. What's interesting is this. Obviously, in today's day and age, you guys have cell phones and you are able to communicate on the computer. And we're able to have instant communication in that fashion. But when I was in elementary school, cell phones weren't even a thing. The cell phone that existed when I was in elementary school was like the Zach Morris Saved by the Bell giant cell phone. That was the cell phone that existed when I was in elementary school. And obviously, none of us had that. When you guys were in elementary school, cell phone or smartphones had just come out, actually, 2007. But when I was in elementary school, like the big deal was like passing each other notes or some junk like that, passing each other notes. And if you could just imagine, like, you pass a note to your friend and literally it says this, and the teacher's like, what the heck? I don't know what to do. But then your friend sees the message and is like, oh, I got it. And then the friend figures out what the message is. Yes, the brick phone, the giant brick phone. That's what existed as a cell phone back when I was in elementary school. I was in elementary school in the very early 90s. Very early 90s. You guys were in elementary school or started elementary school around, 2007, 2008? Something like that. Anyway. So, reviewed the rail fence, showed you the route cipher. I want to talk about the columnar. And I want to talk about a double columnar. And this is what we're going to wrap up with, kind of. No, kids my age are walking around with like pogs and trapper keepers and junk like that. Anywho. Now, last week, I talked about the columnar cipher, columnar transposition. And I want to do that again with our phrase, we are discovered, flee at once. But I want to do it a little bit more. I want to encipher that phrase. using now the columnar transposition, which is the algorithm, but also a keyword. We didn't do this last time with a keyword, but I want to do it this time with a keyword. So, columnar transposition, plain text, we are discovered, flee at once. Now, obviously, if time was of the essence, we wouldn't, try out these different messages. But maybe one of them would get through. I don't know. So now I need to have a keyword. And the keyword that I'm going to use is this. Zebras. Doesn't matter what the keyword is. Doesn't matter at all. But we're going to encipher this using the keyword zebras. Now, after we do the columnar, and actually I'm going to do a double columnar. It's going to be great. Using a different keyword. I'm going to show you. Actually, no, I probably should use the same keyword. Whatever, I don't care. But once we do this, I'm going to show you a ciphertext, and we're going to try and decipher it. So, with columnar, the keyword actually determines the number of columns that you have, which is kind of nice. You don't have to remember a number this time. You just have to remember a keyword. Now, in this case, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to have 6 columns for the word zebras. Z-E-B-R-A-S. And I'm going to write out our message. We are discovered flee, that's an E, at once. Now, a couple things to this. If we wanted to, we could leave those remaining spots blank. We totally could. If we wanted to, we could fill in those spots with all X's. But by filling them in with all X's, you might be giving away part of your cipher. Because if they see the X's, they're going to be like, oh, I see random X's. Perhaps if it's a transposition cipher, those X's are placeholders. And now you've given the person a foothold to crack the code. Some people argue that instead of putting X's, you just put in a random slew of letters, like A, B, C, D, E, or Q, J, S, V, Y, or some junk like that. It doesn't matter. You can technically do whatever you want because there's no hard and fast rule that you even have to put letters in those spots. To encipher this correctly, though, I did need 6 columns because of the keyword. Now, if I wanted to make this a keyword that was only 5 letters long, then yeah, I would have 5 columns, and I wouldn't have any spaces left over because there are 25 letters. But because there are 25 letters and there are 6 columns, 24 of them fit nicely and one of them doesn't. But that is okay. Here's why. First of all, if I wanted to, I could encipher this just straight going up and down the columns. You know, W-I-R, E-E, E-S, E-A, stuff like that if I wanted to. I have a slightly better idea. The better idea would be doing something like this. The better idea is using that keyword, zebras, and realizing, well, A comes first, B comes second, E comes third, R comes fourth, S comes fifth, and Z goes last. I can use that keyword zebras. And again, this would be part of the key that Bob would understand how to get done, part of the algorithm. I could take that keyword and I would take each column in the order of the letters in zebra. So 6, 3, 2, 4, 1, 5. I would start by writing out my ciphertext as EVLN. Then I would go to column 2, ACDT. Column 3, ESEA. Column 4, ROFO. Column 5, DEEC. Column 6, WIREE. We are discovered flee at once. It's just another way of doing it. It's just another way of doing it. If you wanted to go even farther, they have what is known as a double columnar, which I'm going to show you with the next example that we're actually going to try and decipher. You could go farther with a double cipher, where you could use the same keyword. You could literally take the cipher, put it into another grid, and encipher it again, scramble it up again, using the word zebras or a different keyword. The more scrambled it is, the better off you are, as long as Bob knows how to decipher it. It's like, imagine a deck of cards. A deck of cards where everything is in like perfect order, let's just say. Perfect order. It goes like, you know, it's like ace, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, etc. by suit. And then it's like you get through the first suit, second suit, third suit, fourth suit. And everything's in perfect order and you know exactly where each card is. But then you split the deck and you shuffle. And then you split the deck again and you shuffle again. The more times you shuffle, the more mixed up they are, the harder it is to get back to the original, unless Bob, the guy we're sending it to, knows how to unshuffle. So, I have a cipher, a completely different cipher for you, that we're going to do columnar with. Calamari. There it is. And we're going to see if we can't do this one. And this is going to be columnar with a keyword. So let's see. Now I'm going to write this one down. I'm going to put double columnar up here. And I want you to write down this cipher. And we're going to try and break this thing together. It's going to be great. So, cipher is this. EATMX DHNOH YIGNI That one might be a little difficult to read. Y-I-G-N-I. E-X-E-A-N. T-A-T-T-I. A-O-X-T-X. F-H-I-P-S. S-H-L-A-T. L-M. I'm going to leave that up there for a moment. Now, what's interesting is depending on the number of letters that you have, and depending on the key word, you will know whether or not all the letters will be able to fit into a grid with that proper size, or whether or not there were filler letters. Now, this particular message actually does have filler letters, I believe. I got to double check this. Yes, it does. It absolutely does. Now, would you know that? Would you not know that? Here's the thing. There are 42 letters. I already counted them. There are 42 letters. And the key word is tomato. Now, tomato is 6 letters. 42 letters fitting into a bunch of columns. In fact, they're being fit into 6 columns. Clearly, it divides evenly. And there's a whole bunch of extra X's floating around. This person, when they filled out their cipher, probably used X's to kind of fill in the missing spaces. But there are 42 letters, and the key word is tomato. Tomato. It's written the same on the card. So the key is tomato. So what do we do? Since the key is tomato, which has 6 letters, I am going to write out 6 columns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There we go. And since I know there are 42 letters, I'm going to do 7 rows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There we go. Zoom out a little. There we go. 6 columns, 42 letters, which means I did 7 rows. All right, tomato. Now here's the deal with tomato. Tomato obviously has the letter A, which goes first, but will come second, alphabetical order. M comes second. O should come next, but there are 2 O's. Well, just go in the order that they're in, left to right. O and O should come third and fourth. Same thing with the T's. There are 2 T's, but they should come 5th and 6th. Now I'm going to begin the decipherment process by writing the letters in the cipher down each column in the order that I've numbered them. And again, I've ordered them, or I've numbered them, I should say, based on the letters in the word tomato. Tomato not only told me how many columns I needed, but tomato, because of its alphabetical ways, I know the order of the columns that I should do. So let's see. E, A, T, M, X, D, H. Now that's that first column right there, but I ran out of space, so I got to go to the second column. So E, A, T, M, X, D, H, N, O, H, Y, I, G, N. Go to the third column. I, E, X, E, A, N, T. Go to the fourth column. A, T, T, I, A, O, X. Go to the fifth column. T, X, F, H, I, P, S. Go to the last column. S, H, L, A, T, L, M. And you're like, what the heck? Mr. Murray, this doesn't say anything. I know. It doesn't say anything yet. Because this was a double columnar. This was a double columnar. Since it was a double columnar, this thing has been shuffled twice using the same keyword, tomato. You don't have to use the same keyword, but this one did. So I am going to create another grid exactly the same size. Let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. One. That was a terrible line. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There we go. The numbers across the top work exactly the same way. Now, watch what the heck is going to happen here, because again, this is like shuffling a deck of cards twice. We've unshuffled one of those shuffles, but now we have to do it again. Now, we have a new ciphertext. I'm not going to rewrite it just yet, but we have a new ciphertext. And the new ciphertext goes TINES, etc. TINES, AXEOAHT, etc. It keeps going like that, left to right across the rows. I don't feel like rewriting that right now, but I am going to have to rewrite that in the new columnar. The new columnar, because it's a double columnar, this would be part of the algorithm that Bob would understand, was that it was shuffled twice using that keyword tomato. So I am going to fill out those columns one more time using the letters in each row. Because again, what we did here was we unshuffled one of them, and now when we do it over here, it will be completely unshuffled. Let's see what happens. So, going left to right, TINESA. And again, if you notice me filling those things out, I'm going down the column because it's a columnar cipher. Next row, X. Got to go to the second column. EOAHT. Next one. FX. Notice that the X's are now showing up in the bottom row. Third column, H, T, L, T, H, E, Y. Fourth column, M, A, I, I, A, another I, X, another X in the blaster, of course. Got to go to the fifth column. T, A, P, N, G, D, L. Last column, O, S, T, N, H, M, X. Now we are completely deciphered. And now we can read the plain text. Going left to right, the tomato is a plant in the nightshade family, with a bunch of X's kind of filling in that bottom row because they didn't have enough room. The plain text message that they had was the tomato is a plant in the nightshade family. They knew they wanted tomato as the key word, so they knew they were going to have 6 columns, and they had 4 spaces left over that they filled in with X's. They took that, and knowing the order of the letters in tomato, they created this ciphertext, TINESAX, EOAHTFX, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They took that and they threw that into a new grid using that keyword tomato and those columns. They created the cipher that would eventually be sent. This is an amazing process. On Thursday, we are going to get some more practice with rail, route, and columnar. We're going to get more practice with those 3 types of transposition ciphers. I ran out of time to tell you about the Beal cipher. That's more of a story. But I got time. We got plenty of time to do this thing. We still got the Beal cipher to come up with. We still have the Playfair cipher to come up with. There are so many different little ciphers, but I want to make sure that we take the time with what we have. So you're continuing to work on that project. Projects are due tomorrow. If you have not contacted me about the quote, please make sure that you do so. Follow my directions. And if you have any questions, email me. In the meantime, if you have not left a comment in the chat, please make sure that you do so. And I bid you all a good day. Bell's going to ring in like 15 seconds. But I'm just giving you an opportunity to kind of throw something into the chat. Oh, happy day. Anyway, y'all have a good day. I'm going to sign off. Bye-bye, 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 everyone. Bye.